Welcome into the jungle role queue. We've got some of the SPL junglers here, and we're going to pick their brains a little bit about the role, maybe some other roles. Then we've got Twitter Q&A, all that sort of fun stuff to wrap up this role. All right, so let's start way zoomed out, and then we can zoom in a little bit later on. What would you guys say is the role of a jungler? If you had to define what a jungler is in the context of Smite, what would you say?
I think it varies a lot from metas and from different teams. Some teams does better with a guy like Twig, who's like, at least can be more of a setup jungler, or at least had that name back in the day, a bit more. And I mean, I think it depends a lot on the meta and what kind of team you're playing on.
Okay. Twig, do you not like setup jungler?
Oh, I just love this narrative. 9 years of being a setup kind of guy that can't carry game.
I don't know if hold on. We were drafting.
I didn't say that.
Depending on when viewers are watching this, we were drafting our caster fantasy teams today, and I cheated and had the website pulled up. Yeah, Lasber had 72 kills in phase 1 of season 9, and Twig was the second highest jungler as far as kills go in phase 1 of season 9. So maybe
Let's go. probably high deaths too, if I know myself. Maybe top 2, top 3.
Let me sort by deaths really quick. This is great content, me looking at my computer. As far as junglers go, top 3.
Let's go!
You're middle of the road. Your top tier kills, and then lower, upper half deaths, however you want to look at that. All right, so Qvo says it kind of depends maybe based on what the meta is. I've always kind of been curious about this. Are junglers typically shot callers for pro level teams, or would you say that again just sort of depends on the team and their player? Because it feels like the type of role that sees all of the map, goes everywhere, could be a kind of easy connection with someone who calls a lot of the shots.
I think you could be the one to call your potential on the map, like your pathing and like what you can do. I don't really know if you can call around objectives too, but for me, I like to focus. I'll call like my pathing and call like what I want to look for, but that's like really it for the team.
I guess that kind of changes. Scream, what would you say your role is as a jungler right now?
Well, I'm main shot caller for my team as well, so I have a little bit of a different viewpoint, but I think jungle is just the role that can do anything they want, kind of, besides be like a late game hyper carry ADC kind of thing. Right. But they can basically do everything else. They can be facilitator. They can carry games with like these assassins. They can be warriors to get their team ahead. But yeah, I mean, I'd say most junglers are not like once you get to late game, anybody on the team can be a shot caller. Like Zatman's like he's a shot caller. Benji was a late game shot caller. There's like Polar Bear Mike, he's a late game shot caller. It can be anybody late game.
Yeah, I guess depending on the stage of the game, the needs kind of change. What is everyone's favorite jungle meta over the years? So we're in season 9 now. Any year of competitive Smite that you've ever played, what was your personal favorite jungle meta?
The Walking Ward, maybe. the mannequins and stone cutting build, and you walk around the jungle.
Summer last year, the Walking Ward. You got to be useful for like 10 good minutes, where you could pretty much take anyone else on the map. You were faster than the mage in the mid. You could beat the hunter with your stone cutting and mannequins exactly, and then and the solo laner, at least you could beat them maybe on the blue secure or something.
Right.
And then after 10 minutes, there was a cliff that you had to look over.
That was like the Gilgamesh, Erlang, Osiris.
Yeah.
If you weren't those 3, then you were just useless.
And then you could choose to be something else and not even have 10 minutes.
Chem was in that meta too. Chem and Rat were like really good in that meta
near the end of it, I remember they were good. Yeah.
Has the jungle just had such a bad history that the meta where you have 10 minutes of success is the best meta? Surely there was a more favorable jungle meta.
He was just messing around when he said that.
But it was kind of fun a little bit. Like it's like because you didn't really have to take the game that seriously after 10 minutes. You're like,
absolutely.
My bad, guys. But I think like season 4 when you could go Bumbas and then you could go like Death Toll or Bluestone and like depending on the god, you could like build around the god from the get-go. I thought that was pretty cool. And I think that was a little bit in season 3 as well.
Before my time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say season 4, season 5. I like because you can play I felt like back then you could play both early game, but you can also have very much potential late game.
I think the options you had were like the highest in season 4 or 5. You could play Assassin if you wanted. You could play Setup. Yeah, I think you could play Guardians pretty well with Bumpers
you
back
could,
then
you
if
could.
you wanted. I remember Raven was super strong season 4, and I think
Cameras
maybe
was
a
too.
little bit of season 5 too. Camera as well, but like you could do anything. Like you could play Warriors, Mages were fine back then. I think you could go do more on them with Bumpers back then. I think you could do anything season 4, 5 and make it work based on what team you had and what like playstyle you wanted to play.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So do you think your favorite jungle meta is out of the variety of options rather than like Assassins just being like super good, like having a little bit more flexibility in your role?
Well, my second favorite was maybe Full Split last year. I think they like hard buffed Bumber's Spear and Heartseeker maybe. I don't even remember if they buffed Heartseeker, but both of them were so good.
They were good.
And it got to the point where late game you did feel super useful, but it was only a couple patches, and then I think they nerfed Bumber's Spear quite a lot.
Right.
You got like less. You got a load of gold from it. Like I remember you bought it, and then you got a ton of gold, and you could get a 3K pot really quick too.
Doesn't matter where like hunters were going Bumba Spear as well, right? And they were just like burning objectives.
Yeah, maybe.
Hunters went Spear. I remember like Hachiman with a spear, like burning up.
Yeah,
fire
I think
giant.
I remember like Ullah's with it too.
Yeah, for sure with us with it too.
Do it. I don't hear a whole lot of people saying 9.5 or whatever we're in right now.
Oh, this one right now. Jungle right now is
alright,
like a
right?
free farm.
It's fine. Yeah, I think it's fine.
It's still somewhat early in the patch. I think maybe down the line we see a lot more different variety stuff. It's definitely a weird patch though.
It's definitely not low on my list. I think right now it's middle of the road. Like I enjoy jungle, but there can be like you just get beaten by hunters later on in the game most of the time. Let's say 9 out of 10 of the times, depending on your character. And then I feel like you also kind of get beaten. Like mages will do more in a team fight. Like AOE, you kind of get bossed around by a solo laner now with like Glad Shield buffs, and it's like, well, you just get beaten a lot of things when you're a 1v1 character. Like assassins are meant, like a jungler assassin is meant to like be a good 1v1 character, and I think you get beaten a lot of things. But aside from that, like you still feel super useful, and you get a lot of farm, and like you just get to vibe and chill, and like you still get to play your game. So it's definitely middle of the road right now for me.
You mentioned your tier list. Let's go the opposite direction. What's everyone's least favorite jungle meta ever, if you ever had to look back? And now I know I'm opening up the gates, so you know
I would
balanced
probably
decisions are on the
say
table.
back when you got invaded on the first meet.
Oh,
I mean, there was a little bit of fun to it in the start.
You love
but-
being chased around by a support for 10 minutes.
That's my
But
favorite.
eventually it was just like, you're just on the spot so early, you gotta be clean with decision making, your game is on like a knife's edge, whether you're smacked or you're not. And I remember
That feels bad.
I was playing with the old Dignitas squad, and then one day, something happened, I didn't get to play the game, I just threw my headset across the room like...
Well, I can't blame you, right?
It was crazy back then.
You don't get to like get a feel for the game.
You don't even get to play the game.
Right.
Like half the time you're like, oh, it's 10 minutes in, we're 5K down, I can't even get my back cam, what am I doing?
That's when like the support dictated the start, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like whichever
exactly.
support bought more time for you, you won basically for as a jungler.
Yeah.
I didn't play. I mean, I wasn't in the SPL, but I was like playing minor league.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember
Hercules
around
meta.
you running at me
Yeah.
with like Erlang stone cutting on my speed buff. So
Oh, that just
was
sounds
great.
so fun.
Yeah,
I bet the supports would say that was one of their favorite metas.
because that's when
Maybe.
we were all SML, like us
Right.
and then the Leviathans or
Right.
Sanguine. They
Yeah,
were
you guys,
so SML, yeah.
no strangers to one another.
Yeah.
Although maybe that got old for supports too. Like,
From what I understand, they love it.
From the right
Yeah,
supports,
yeah.
I know Mike absolutely loved it. I enjoyed that meta too a little bit, but I can understand why it'd be so annoying, especially like if like a speed or something has 1 HP and it's like you just use that auto, it's 1 and then they get it and it's like, oh man. Like that's gonna, now I can't outrun the support who's Hercules clubbing me around and waiting for his next 1 cooldown. Then you realize you're gonna die if you get hit by it, so you have to start wiggling, but they've got speed buff, so they're
right,
just
they can
smacking
chase
you
you
while
around.
you're doing it. And it's like, okay, this
yeah,
is
you're
fun.
right. Mike probably loves that. Let's be honest. What was that? Was that? I feel like that sounds familiar to me. I might have been on Paladins at the time. It might have been season 6 or something like that.
Yeah, it was season 6, I think.
Yeah, that's
God, I'm
fine.
so smart. Every once in a while, I remember things. All right. Why did everyone, or how maybe, there's more of a story to it for some of you. How did everyone start playing jungle? How did jungle come to be as everyone's role?
Well, I played before it was even a jungle in the back in the day. There was 2 dual lanes and a middle lane.
That's
and
right.
Then we had one guy, Game Hunter, tried to play jungle. It was a guy from Launch Tournament. He had Pentakill. And he didn't really like it, so I was like, whatever, I'm gonna give it a shot, and that's just kind of how it went.
And I'm going to get to everyone else, but now I'm just curious. How did jungle as a role form? Like, I mean, I guess at some point, like, you needed somebody to farm up all like the neutral stuff. Did the map change, and then eventually
I think they added back camps.
teams
added
agreed
back
that like
camps, for
somebody should
sure.
just do it all the time?
Because back then there was a lot more buffs
Right.
as well, and then
Right around.
but it was kind of dictated by the solo, by the dual lanes who got all that kind of farm.
Right.
And then they added in more jungle camps. It felt kind of bad in the start, and you even had a meta where you had double jungle to kind of roam around and clear.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of adapted over the years. All right, rest of you three. I was going to say four. How did everyone start playing jungle? Why, if you just chose it?
I don't think I had a particular reason. I think I watched like all the launch tournaments and season ones and stuff. I think it was just because I watched like Andinster stream a lot, and he was probably my favorite player to watch, and I guess I just took a lot from him, and I played jungle, and that's pretty much that for me.
Happen to be good at it. You're passable, Scream.
I'm
You're
okay.
passable.
I'm okay at best.
Twig, what's your jungle story?
Well, I was a mid at first.
Yep.
I think that was the role that like maybe watching Lass's stream just made me. I just enjoyed that role so much. I played like I remember you could play Kali and it was pre like her changes, and go Heartseeker and back Asura and go Hog invade their defense buff, and it's like the amount of stuff you could do in mid. It was just you just had a 1v1 for like a good 10 minutes.
Right.
And like, if you knew what to pick and what to do, you could get ahead most of the time. So I was a mid at first, but I played season 1 Worlds with Zeros, who was a jungler, but like he's a great player, but he was kind of a viber, and he didn't really want to be that active. So I was really frustrated with the way he played, but like also I think he just fit way better in mid, and he did. Like he turned out to be a great mid laner. So we kind of role swapped season 2. And I've kind of been a main jungler since then. I really enjoy it. In comp, jungle is like, I think the most fun role. In ranked, I would say mid or anywhere else.
We'll get to some ranked questions here in a little bit. Believe me, we'll get to vent some ranked frustrations. Layers, round us out here. What's your jungle story?
I don't really remember how it happened. I kind of just played solo, and then I swapped jungle, and that was kind of.
You liked it, and you stuck with it.
Yeah, stuck with it. That was about it. Yeah.
Well, as Twig brings up, let's talk a little bit about ranked. We've heard the competitive metas, things like that. What advice would you guys give, say, viewers out there curious, I want to play ranked, I want to climb, and I want to do it in jungle. If you had advice for junglers in ranked, what would it be?
Focus on yourself in ranked, primarily.
Yeah.
Just try to improve. I mean, you can't really dictate or control like how your team's going to be every game, so you just got to focus on yourself and try to improve, I would say.
I mean, I completely agree. I think the biggest thing is when you come to ranked, a lot of people like to get frustrated at other players and whatnot. So I think to improve, you have to always like look at yourself. Why did this go wrong? Could I have done something different? Even though like it might be on somebody else's fault, like always look at yourself first, and then you can like branch out to see, okay, maybe there was also some bad over here and something like that. And for gods to play, I think you have to play kind of risky, play a bit of like hard carry, and then go for some risky plays, and then just feel out the opponents, like get active with it, for sure.
I feel like jungle catches the most flack. You know, if especially, I don't know, I'm in the trash tier ranks whenever I play ranked. And it always feels like if a lane is feeding, that's always the jungler wasn't there, right?
It's always jungle diff.
Right.
Every game.
Yeah.
Coin flip.
So I imagine tuning a lot of that out is, would you, it's probably very different. I imagine you don't run into a whole lot of that at like actual competitive.
It's not different. At least not in Diamond Masters. If your lane's getting beaten, it's because they've picked an unsafe lane that you should be killing.
Right.
So if your solo laner's just getting 1v1 smashed, then like it's because you're not ganking their unsafe pick that should be ganked over and over again. Same with the duo, I think. And I don't know, in mid it's kind of maybe that you've shared one extra wave or something and the mid is just out of the game. Or something. They just can't play.
You never hear Panatom complaining, right? Shinto gets it all, but
you get a lot of flack in jungle, so what Layers was saying I think is absolutely correct. Just focus on yourself, do your own thing. If you got to turn turn the lights off with the mute button, then that's all you.
That's what you got to do.
Honestly.
That's your right, and you just play your game. Listen to some music. Run around, farm.
What role? I don't know. We're gonna transition into being mean to other roles here very quickly, I imagine. What role? This is a Mifflin question, so I want to protect myself a little bit, and the wording is his. What role drags you the most in ranked?
Drags meaning.
Like brings your game
Brings you
down.
down.
Oh.
Yeah. It's got to be solo laners.
Yeah, I was about to say for sure.
Yeah,
Solo
probably solo,
laners,
yeah.
For sure.
Why would you say solo laners have a grudge?
If they get ganked and then they don't receive a gank, they're like
Right.
jungle diff, biggest jungle diff ever. Like, and that's just how it goes.
Well, look, they're out on an island. They don't get a lot of interaction, so they don't know how to handle handle.
You are
those-
kind of their only friend, and sometimes they decide that they don't want an only friend.
Right.
They're like, okay, you're out of mana, no Qs for you.
Yeah, right.
Oh, you wanted to share blue? Nope, I'm just gonna all in it right now while you're running there.
Right.
So good.
and then they walk off. Or if you ever do the blue before they get there, they're up there clearing at the enemy tower or whatever. And if you ever kill that blue, you better be waiting for 20 plus seconds or 10 plus seconds. Because if you ever drop it, that's no more Qs, no more help, no more nothing. They're just going to int into their brains out
Well,
until
yeah, they need the golden
until
experience.
you never drop a blue again without them.
All right, so solo lane catches that L. Does that affect your favorite lane to gank? Would you guys say that as players? This could be SPL, ranked, whatever. Is there a lane that you just kind of, the feeling's good when you run
gravitate
into
towards?
that? Yeah, you gravitate towards as a player.
I think it's more solo side because junglers get most of their farm from solo side.
right.
Going to duo can be like kind of risky and it can kind of put you behind. So I would say solo. Most junglers would prefer to gank.
Is duo? I mean, duo is probably what a duo gank's like risk reward. Like there's the potential for a couple kills,
Well,
right?
nowadays I
But
don't think it's as bad because if you get invaded, like the enemy jungler doesn't get anything for it. It's
Right.
more they deny you. But yeah, going for like a duo gank, you could like have a CaptainTwig on your speed or something like that. Yeah,
For sure.
someone invading. Yeah.
of course, Twig is
I'm a
gonna
fan
be-
of my duo getting ganked. Yeah.
Yeah, if Lasbro was here, he'd be. Well, Lasbro last year was a big like level 2 duo lane
Yeah, cringe gank.
all the
yeah.
time, right? All right, we got junglers here. Is that cringe? Is a level 2 gank to duo lane cringe?
They should expect it.
I mean, every now and then it's okay, but there was a lot of it. Like,
It
there was
happened a
going
lot.
on.
Well, I think if it's Lasbro and you're playing against Lasbro, you should just come to expect it.
Right.
So it's not
Yeah.
cringe on his part. It's just you're bad, and you should.
Right,
know.
there's like a bell curve where it happens like the first time, you're like, oh, that's a little weird. And then it happens enough, and that like there's a peak of cringe, but then it keeps happening, and you have to expect it, so
Yeah,
it's
but
no
it's like
longer cringe.
at that point he knows you have to expect it. So you're like, we expect it, and
Right.
he knows that you expect it. So he's like, they're not going to expect me to
Right.
gank anyway. You know what
He's
I mean?
hiding in plain
So
sight.
it goes back bad again.
Right. God, Vasper just has a mental block on every duo lane he
Yeah.
ever ends up going against.
He's just smarter.
All right, we are going to talk mean about the other roles, or nicely about the other roles in just a moment. I do want to pick your brain. We know the metas have changed over the years, and you guys have gotten a wide variety of picks to play. Based on the current meta is how I'll frame this. Who's your favorite non-traditional jungle character to play in the jungle? I guess based on current meta being tradition, I suppose.
So like right now, or like over the past like year.
Just ever, I guess. Like if you're able to play any god in the jungle, that's not necessarily
Thor.
a jungle pick.
Thor is probably up there, even though he's not very good.
Yeah, I do love a good Thor pick.
Yeah.
What do we see? We saw. I'm dragging some poor SEC guy. There was some SEC game where it was just like literal hit or miss god, where nothing was hitting that game.
Well, your power spike is Thor's like 5,
Right.
and your first ult, if you don't get anything for it, then your game's over.
Yeah.
So,
All right, so maybe Thor for layers.
I really like. I'm in Sugiyomi.
Yeah.
I mean.
You know what happened? It was only Tsukiyomi for a while there.
It's just kind of a rough character. Like you don't, if you get gone on first, it's hard to get value on his kit. So I think as people figured out how he plays,
Yeah.
it's harder to get away with him. But I do love Sugiyomi. I think it was very fun to play, and you
Yeah,
can
he's
have
a
some
lot of fun.
crazy ults as well.
I mean, I'd say Bastet, but that character is not good anymore.
No.
They have nerfed her so many times.
I'm gonna
and
say
then
she was playable good
Yeah.
for a while, for a good second.
I think at
and
Worlds
then
she
there
was
was
good. And then
there was a couple nerfs, and it was like, okay, like maybe you could still play her in the right
And then they
game.
kept going.
Then a couple nerfs, and you're like, guys, stop that, guys. And then there were like 2 more nerfs.
Right.
And they're like,
Oh, yeah?
they really didn't want her to be played.
It was when Nika threw Bastet solo and got a penta during the qualifier tournament, right? That's what
So
we knew.
winners ruin everything for us.
Yeah,
That's true.
they take all of.
God, I can't
what's
wait
good.
until we move on to the next segment. We get to talk about the other roles. You guys are still lay into solo lane again. Twig, how about you? Favorite
It's hard to
non-standard jungle
say
pick?
because I feel like it's become like I would have said Poseidon a few years ago, but like my goodness, what has happened to the state of the game
Yeah.
now? So yeah, it'd be like Poseidon. If not, it would be some like I want to say like Chiron or something. You just get to giddy up around the jungle.
Have you ever played Chiron jungle?
Yeah,
Is that a thing?
well, quite a few times.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. But like
Scream's not sold on
you
the
just run
the Chiron.
around.
The giddy up around the jungle actually got me. I think I could get behind that.
The wheels are turning. We're theory crafting some picks. Would you ever pitch Chiron jungle in picks and bans?
Oh, I would, absolutely. But at the same time, I'm kind of maybe the most conservative player on my team with like guys like high-res really want us to play normal characters in
Yeah.
a lot of the time. And people like overreact a lot, I think, to like, well, this is crazy, we should play this crazy pick here or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I missed the last half of Masters, but I tried to stay in tune. We saw a lot of like triple ADCs happening. That was fun to watch, I'd imagine. But do we see any ADCs out of jungle? I don't know. Was that because we saw what solo mid, and then ADC were playing hunters.
We've seen Apollo before, but not.
Yeah,
at this
Apollo
meta.
jungle.
I was going to say, I think Johnny even played Ulla at the, he was in
did,
EU,
yeah,
he did,
but he
yeah.
played Ulla, and I was surprised he didn't play Apollo too, because he loves that. He loves it.
Yeah, yeah, because we've seen a little bit of that over the years. Okay, let's talk about other roles. You can be nice or mean, however you want to look at it. How do I want to frame this? Let's talk about ADC first. How would you describe maybe ADC as a role? How would you describe maybe an average ADC player in your mind through the scope of a jungler? Do they whine a lot for ganks? Are they needy? You know, how do you look at ADC as a jungler? If you had
I think
to,
it depends on the player.
sure, okay,
Some players will want you to play through your lane. Like I know Cyclone will call me over sometimes because he doesn't like me to leave his lane alone. So he'd be like, come over, help me, help
Right.
me. But yeah, that's usually, it just depends on the player and depends on the character they're playing too.
Does it feel like a needy role? Let's say even outside of the scope of like your specific teams right now. You can even scope it into ranked as well if you want.
It's like, you know that meme with the dog where he's really built?
This is perfect,
And then
yes.
he's like, oh, you know, it's like, I'm a big dog, and then he's like a baby dog that's crying. And
Yeah.
it's like,
I don't know that meme.
You don't know, like,
Oh, I know
you
it.
don't
I know it,
like
yeah.
the Doge meme, the Doge meme.
Yeah, I know where you're going with that.
But like, they're either the best role in the game or they're automatically terrible by all accounts, according to them.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
And you don't agree.
no, I don't. I think they are like pretty fine a lot of the time, but they complain all the time, and it's just like,
Unbelievable.
I just can't
And,
hear it.
and that's why we're here with 3 ADCs.
I was going to say, I think a big problem with Smite right now is the propaganda epidemic
Yeah.
that we're hearing from Zapman. He's an abuser of it. He's been an abuser for a good 3-4 years. And the propaganda, and the thing is, he mind washes his viewers, his like influencer, like on Twitter, his influencer radius, they all get a little bit mind washed every time, even if you don't believe it when you read it. Like, oh, Hunter's just unplayable late game. Oh, you do 50 damage to a tank late game. Even if you don't believe it, it kind of enters your brain a little bit and
Oh, you think about it.
infects you.
Right.
And there is a bit of a bite back now with the solo laners, I think, where they're biting back on this. And they are also, there's a lot of content creators in the solo lane, and they also like have their own propaganda with Warriors and Guardians are unplayable. That's the start, and then they go on. And then you just have 2 side laners with so much propaganda that it just gets to the point where there's no core anymore. There's just really good warriors and really
Right.
good hunters.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, I think.
Yeah. But has there ever been a time where a role hasn't thought that they were? Who'd we have in? We had a support. We did a support thing a while ago where I think maybe it was Aurora was convinced that support is like the best role in the game by far. That's the only time I've ever heard somebody admit that their role is like the best. We lump solo a little bit in there, and I think we've talked. Solo laner's going to be crying by the end of this, so we'll move on from solo. I think. Support. What do we think about support as a role? Support players. What comes to mind when you think of the other duo lane role?
They're kind of your best friend sometimes.
Yeah.
You can combo with them, and then other times you get someone in rank that doesn't help you. We're talking competitive, yeah, they're their best friend, and they're like the other roaming role, but yeah, in rank they can be kind of null and void and not very good. So
Sure.
I think a lot of them complain. Like I think they're living a good life. They've had Gauntlet of Thieves, which is like the best
For
item.
so many years.
Yeah, the best defense item in the game. They can rush sovereignty and ruin my game automatically.
Yep.
And they just complain that their role's not useful or they don't feel good playing it. But they're living good over there, I'm telling you.
Once you rotate out, right? I mean,
They're the only role left with access. Well, ADCs can still get gilded, I guess, but with access to a very good gold spooling options with Thebes. And I don't know what they're talking about when they say that they might be weak or strong. Like, they've had metas in the last few years where they have absolutely been the most like dominant role in the game, or the most impactful, more than you as a jungler, which to me just sounds wrong. But like, then it's like I think they're weaker now than they've been in the past. But like, there's a lot not to complain about, in my opinion. Like with gold spooling items and auras and just like the Guardian kits, like they're so easy to play, like unreal.
yeah, support. Easiest role in the game by far. Just kidding. I can't say that. I'm bad at everything. All right, round us out here. Mid laners. Let's get it out of the way. Do we think mid overly complains about their role?
There's some. I mean, we hear Shinto and the Panatom dynamic. I hear that Shinto does like to take a lot of farm, but for me on my team, like I feel, I mean, my boy in mid, he gives me what I need, and
Yeah, right.
I love that. So yeah, I like the mid laners for the most part.
Do you think mid laners are the most? Maybe I don't know. Would you say as junglers you sit in waves? I guess right now the meta is you kind of hang out in mid a little bit for a couple of those waves. Over the years, have mid laners complained the most about farm and all of that being stolen? Things like that in game?
They don't really do it to the jungler. If anything, it's the support.
That's right, they just roam and they just sit there in mid.
yeah, I hear a lot about like the donut support that just like sits in mid and like he won't like ever like be aggro. He'll always be like reactive, but he'll split like every red and then he'll split like every mid wave.
To be fair, that's annoying. Yeah, I would hate that too. All right, so we don't have like harsh words for mids.
Most mid laners are well, back then as well, they knew what their role was, and it's kind of just to be the guy who gives all of his farm away and then tries to be useful late game.
Right.
But more so these days, they can complain a little bit more because they can actually carry games now. So
Right. Or they can do more. So
And not to knock off Shinto and Panatom dynamic either.
No, I mean that's just.
They have great
You do
success
keep
with what
bringing
they
it up
do.
though, don't you?
But I mean that like every time we talk about like a mid getting a lot of farm, we always talk about Shinto because like that Leviathan team just funnels it to him.
Yeah, last year they kind of ruined my life. Because like Paul, his biggest like gripe is being passively behind.
Right. Why am I?
So if he's passively behind, he'll be like, we have to match that, and I have to be even with him.
Right.
So I'll be like a mini Panatom, basically in games like last year at least,
And you get your
where we
farm
both be
taken.
like 8 levels behind the mid laner. So it's great.
Yeah, that's hard to. That's a well-oiled mid farm machine that they've got over there. All right, so junglers. I mean, I don't think over the years you guys have ever complained about your role and been wrong, right? I mean,
well, we're never wrong. So
right.
Amen.
Is there a propaganda machine around the jungle twig?
I don't think there is a lot of propaganda. Like, Sino isn't in the league, and he's maybe the only guy I see on like Twitter and everything all the time complaining about jungle. I don't know. I don't think many people like are complaining right now, and we're not. We are impactful for 15 minutes. Which, I mean, let's face it. In any MOBA, a jungler has to just be impactful. Like, that's just how the role works and the role functions, that they have to be impactful. Like, I don't think anyone's complaining. I don't think there's a lot of propaganda. When buffs happen, obviously, that's great. And I don't think we live in a very jungle-dominated league that it could, like, because the jungle is super impactful at a game, but I don't think junglers are particularly super selfish or anything, at least not in the top junglers on any of the top teams, are like super selfish or anything. So, no, I don't. There's no propaganda from us. I don't know.
That's right. Everyone's sitting back and enjoying it. All right, we're going to move on to some superlatives before we end. Is jungle the best role in the game, though? Are we all agreeing on that? As far as like players
As of right
go?
now. As of right now, no.
No.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
They're-
Let's get that propaganda machine
I
up.
think they're the third best.
What are the one
The
and two?
side lanes.
Yeah, sides.
Because solos were playing carries.
But I've been
So
told
like,
those are the
Robo played a
weakest.
carry.
That's just what they love to say.
They do just
Kidding.
get to sit there and solo waves on repeat
And they
after
get to play
like
ADCs.
after the laning phase.
Now,
but
to be
into
fair, all right, so you get back from a long day of work. What sounds better than just throwing on Spotify and just farming waves, and then eventually 20 minutes you get into a game, and then you go and fight, you know? I don't want to deal with like early game stuff.
Absolutely, that sounds like the least stressful thing.
Yeah,
like
stressful.
ever.
I don't know about fun, though.
And the thing is with the side lane is that they get paid. In the SPL, they get paid
They do.
to just sit there and they could listen to Spotify. Who would know? They
No one.
don't have to say anything if they don't want.
They're in their own world. You
Oh,
know?
I just want to try this hunter, this game. They've had 8 years to practice. Like,
Do you think
8 hunters.
when we get the solo laners in here, do you think they'd have some mean things to say about junglers?
I can't think of what.
Yeah.
I'm glad we talked about the other roles. That was fun. All right, let's move on to some superlatives. So either at this table, any player in the league, or I don't know if there's ranked players or somebody in the history of Smite even. Any jungler is the acceptable aura here. Tell me who you think comes to mind. A lot of most likelies here. All right, so most likely to die to a jungle camp. Any jungler in SPL history, current or otherwise, who do you think is most likely to die to a jungle camp? Doesn't happen often.
Has anybody died to jungle camp?
Talking about junglers or just players?
Jungler.
If jungle is too hard to think of anyone specifically, I'll accept any player.
I have in a scrim.
Maybe,
Wait, didn't you die to Pyromancer that game?
Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah. You and Harry.
Okay, not gonna lie, my really gifted and talented Kerberos solo has not spit to stun the thing. So
You got or hit.
what am I meant to do? If my guy with the stun can spit the pyroblast, and I just
You're chilling for sure.
we have to trade the map somewhere, and then bam, game 1 to Titans. You know,
Yep.
that's how it is.
So maybe by default it's just you, Twig, because you've done it most recently.
Most recent, at least. I'm sure we have done some int over the years on those spec camps. I think I have died for sure.
They definitely smack right now too.
Yeah.
Especially the charge up on speed. There's no way to avoid that.
Yeah, you just
What?
have now.
What happens in that moment? That's usually probably just a miscalculation, right? Like surely
is,
this
for
ability is
sure.
going to be back,
Yeah.
or something like that.
I think the post games of those games are always funny because you're just like, guys, I died to a back camp. Like, let's just get to the next.
Stay
game.
off
Like,
Twitter for an hour or two.
Let's just
Right.
get to the back. Let's just get to the next. Game.
We ignore that. All right, that was a tough one. Over the years, would you say any jungler has stood out as most likely, I guess maybe this is more of a mid laner thing, or ADC, most likely to steal an objective? Is there any jungler that has been just a thorn in your side with stealing stuff away
Lasbro's
from you?
taken a couple objectives from us
Yeah.
in games where we just I think one game where we just left fire one shot and we walked away and then he we didn't see him and he came under and stole it with like a Kama too.
I guess that's probably pretty like pick based, right? Like whatever god they're
It
playing.
can be.
that's
Also, you just need a jungler that's kind of a playmaker.
Yeah.
Like, I've got to the point where I see an objective, I see 3 people, 2 people or more, and I think that stuff's gone, man. Off to my back camps, red buff's up or something, I don't know. And then I just run away, and I realize that, like, the 4 years ago me would blink alt everything, every
Sure.
time, and die. Sorry, mate. Sound things.
No, it's all good.
And die in order to get the steal. So maybe, definitely not me. Maybe
have
Lassie.
I could see Lassie.
Yeah.
He goes for those for sure.
Yeah. This could be a similar question. Who do you think most likely to force you? Again, I guess this is just sort of the way the game goes sometimes, later in the game especially. Most likely to try to force 1v1s in the jungle. Is there any player that feels very aggressive in looking for solo kills? Could be against you specifically as a jungle, or just always looking to fight. Maybe is a better way to
I
word
think
that.
Parent Tom could look for that sometimes, but he usually travels with his support.
Yeah.
But
Ryan
they'll
goes
look for
everywhere.
picks and stuff. They'll do like some backhand trickery.
He has
Yeah.
the inevitability of someone being behind him somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
I think Sam for soccer, it depends on the meta.
Yeah.
I think if he's
Meta-based.
playing a matchup where he knows like he's got a 1v1 inevitability, then he's like maybe the guy who'll look for it one of the most.
Yeah.
I think Les is down to get down and dirty too.
Yeah.
Who was it who had that Dai Bats game where when was it that
Oh
you? That's
no. Do not bring this up,
You
okay?
guys went crazy that game.
We didn't go crazy, he went crazy. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to farm red buffs and stuff. And
were you Bats?
no,
you
I was the Hun Bats in this
Yeah.
equation.
And you got. I mean, Dai has a good matchup, obviously, but eventually I think you won some of them. No?
Don't remember, traumatized.
I mean, that was.
No, I think I died 6 times in a row.
Oh,
Not
okay.
kidding.
Do you guys
Yeah, I
like
mean,
the?
Sometimes I died with beads up.
Right.
Can't
Just
win 'em all.
happens. It happens.
Can't win them all.
Do you guys like the late game 1v1 against the other jungle? Because that feels like it comes down to a lot of 4v4 on one side of the map and then 2 junglers vibing in mid. Do you feel like there's a lot of weight on you late in the game to?
I think it depends on which god you're against. If you're against
Yeah.
a Loki late game with Bumba's Hammer, then you're not having fun.
Oh yeah,
So,
there's no chance.
Yeah, there's no shot.
I mean, when you're going super late as a jungler and you're playing for the siege, at least before they buffed the birds and the towers,
Right.
if you felt you had a very good matchup, I mean, you should play for the middle bird, and most of the time you will get it too if you play correctly. Personally, I love playing those one-on-ones, where it's so on a knife's edge. We gotta be clean. I do this, he do that. What's the conclusion here?
Right.
Like,
That's
I
fun.
like that a lot, for sure.
Right. It's fun as spectators for sure to watch a little bit of that as well. All right, we'll move on to a couple fan questions here and then send you guys on your way. All right, so D Wolf Kid on Twitter asks, what do you expect? Or sorry, wrong one. When you queue for ranked, what is your backup role if you don't get jungle? And is there a reason that is your backup role?
Mid, because I feel like I see most of what's going on in mid, and I feel like I know what a mid laner should be doing.
Yeah.
Because we sit in mid all the time, so definitely mid. I feel like it's my second best role,
Yeah.
so I would queue that.
I would say the exact same. I mean, a mid just kind of plays itself too.
Yeah.
Hang out and farm, right?
Anything but duo lane. That is,
Yeah.
that's what I can say.
No one
like
wants to be
duo.
part of that.
Those roles are just not fun to play when you're off roll.
Yeah.
You either get against an on-roll ADC and they're destroying you 1v1, or you're against a duo queue and you're against you get against Schwa Schwa with an ADC and she just camps your lane and you're like, okay, well, I just don't even want to be in the game. What's even,
For sure.
All right, so no duo lane.
yeah.
How about you, Twig?
Solo for sure.
Really,
think
after everything we've said about solo?
I've missed my. Well, I play the solo that every jungler really wants.
Right, it's more the solo players that we've talked about, not the role itself.
That's the problem.
Right?
The egos on those guys. Someone needs to do something about that.
Right.
And Hi-Rez have tried. But no, solo's fun. I think I saw the calling for the role that maybe I should have been playing all this time. But Arthur is so fun. Vamana is so fun. Osiris, there's so many fun solo laners that you just get to run around, be kind of hard to kill, and just slap each other for so long. And it's just there's something amazing about that role. Beautiful.
Yeah,
in fact.
beautiful even.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's you tune in to 3 a.m. Animal Planet, right? And that's the type of thing the just nature elephants fighting against one another kind of. It's there's something
Poetic.
poetic about. Thank you for taking me home there.
What's going on?
I don't know.
What's happening?
I told everyone. I said I'm in some type of mood today, and this is gonna go downhill really
This
quickly.
is great. This is great.
All right, another Twitter question. A couple more here. Favorite. All right, this is very easy. Favorite jungler to play? Who's your favorite jungler?
Is it right now or all time?
All time. I guess if
Erlang
it's,
Shen.
all right, because you mentioned Thor. I guess that would technically count.
But Erlang has recency bias because
Erlang
he's
definitely
been
has
good.
recency
I mean,
bias.
he's okay right now, but I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I would frame it in if every god in the game was available for you to pick in a game right now, ignoring team comps, who would you want to play?
Erlang.
Shen.
I'd say Neja or Thor.
Yeah. Both of those are solid picks right now. You can play those in the SPL, right?
No.
I mean, I might whip a few Neja games here
Yeah,
and
there you go.
and see what happens. Get Hazer on my back again.
Complete snap on the Neja Thor. I might be the 8th best Thor in the league, but my goodness, he's fun to play. Even if I might be the 8th best.
I mean, I think Thor is fun to play. I was thinking maybe Fen has been a long character. I like to play Fen. Even it's kind of easy to play, but it's been around for so long, and I've had a lot of good memories on him. So maybe Fen.
Yeah, I've enjoyed watching Thor kind of go in and out of the meta though. So if there's one god that I want back, it's Thor. That's my preference. All right, I don't really know what this one means, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. This might have been meant for hunters, but I'll ask you guys. How much tape do you use on a yearly basis for your left mouse button? All right, let me rephrase this into an actual usable jungle question. I'm assuming this was meant for hunters because they just left click all the time. Is there a button that junglers use in the same way you could say like hunters only left click for their auto attacks? Is there one key or button you think that screams jungle to you?
The blink button.
Yeah.
Whatever you're.
Buy blink every single game, and then you start using it.
I wish you could just not get beads and get 2 blinks and
Yeah.
just like
I
have
would
2
double
different
second
cooldowns.
blink.
I would double up, yeah.
That would be. I'd get Magi's for that every game because blink is like it just makes or breaks the game in my opinion for
sure.
jungle. It's so fun to play
Yeah, for
with.
sure. All right, we'll pitch that in our next balance meeting. Double relics.
Yeah, you
Certainly
should.
nothing gets broken there.
Double up, yeah.
Really push it.
This is probably a pretty simple, just get better at the game kind of thing. How do you hit people that juke a lot?
I mean, you can try and be a little more patient, like try and read the movement and like when it looks good. I don't know if that makes sense to the average player, but to me, I can tell like when it looks good and
Right.
it feels good to shoot. And usually it can take a little bit of patience, but once you get it down, like the movement and you can kind of, if they start over juking,
Yeah.
take your patience, like hold W down, get closer to them. If they juke themselves to death, like now you are so close, they can't get away anymore.
Right.
Yeah, I was about to mention that too. With Thanatos, some people will like throw their scythe if they're right on someone, but people will like try to go like crazy when you're like right next to him with Thanatos scythe.
Yeah.
So you don't throw it, you just sit there and beat him on the head. That's all you gotta do.
just auto
be
attack him
patient
down.
with your kit and just
Right.
beat him down. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Patience is. I gotta learn that at some point.
Patience is like the biggest key for like a new jungler.
Right.
I'd say.
For sure.
That question should be asked to like Panda Cat or Paul, because I swear you juke sometimes and they don't even care. They just hit you with every auto
Yeah,
anyway.
all their auto
And
attacks.
You should ask them because I don't know what's going on there with what's going on in their computers.
Would you say? Do you think, if you look specifically at the scope of SPL players, do you think players have certain move/juke tendencies that you can read? Like if you're ganking a certain player, you kind of have a feel based on history of how certain guys are gonna try to juke you out, things like that. Would you say that's something you can get a read on?
The Levi's are a really big proponent of that, in my opinion. Like, you watch Ronnigue, and this guy's always doing something weird with his movement. Like, he's always backstepping. Like, he's good at juking. Like, don't get me
Right.
wrong.
Yeah.
But you kind of know that it's going to happen anyways. Like,
Right.
I don't know. Other than that, not really. I mean,
It's probably hard to think of in the moment, right?
Yeah, it's not like, oh, I'm ganking the
I'm
right
ganking
team.
you, right.
But right,
He's gonna
this
do this,
game, he's
right.
gonna move to the right, this guy only
ganks
to the
right.
left, up and down. Like, nah.
No, he's gonna
It's
run
more-
forward.
he's gonna-
He will just die. You don't have to think about juking. Right, Fred?
You ain't wrong.
Is the no juke a viable juke?
yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Just keep walking.
Well, Paul, talking about Paul, he'll like throw an ability. He's like, oh, he really didn't juke left there.
Right.
He'll like he expects him like
Just
to do
keep
something.
going.
He's like, this guy really ran straight. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah, that's mine, but like it's not like an actual thought process. I just panic and keep
He
running
calls
straight.
it the 50-50 loss.
Right?
He's like, he went left instead of right, and I lost a 50-50.
That's all it is. It's a coin flip.
Yep.
Junglers, I appreciate you guys sitting down with me. It was a lot of fun picking your brain a little bit, talking nothing but good things about the other roles. Excited to watch you guys get back in the game, play some SPL matches a bit later on. Everyone at home, thanks for watching.
One more.
All right, sweet. You guys are good.
Hey, wait, what did it win?
You win the respect.
Telling me an alien wore this?
Perfect. Okay, that was a good cut.
Messaging him to mute.
The best graphics you really need, Ultra, of course, and I can probably watch a stream on the side.
Content's gonna look good. Pretty good.